Every Sunday, your Nan set out a spread that turned a roast dinner into a proper event. Not just meat and gravy, but 6, 7, sometimes 8 side dishes covering every inch of that table. Cauliflower cheese with a crust thick enough to tap with a spoon. Bread sauce so thick the ladle stood upright. Pickled everything. But somewhere between the 1970s and now, half those dishes vanished. We stopped making them. Supermarkets stopped stocking the ingredients. And a whole generation grew up thinking Sunday roast meant meat, roast potatoes, and a bag of frozen peas. Number 17 on this list was served at every single Christmas table in Britain until 1985. And number 1, the dish that topped every Nan's spread, has almost completely disappeared from modern kitchens. These are the 25 forgotten Sunday roast sides your Nan made that have vanished. Number 25, Swede mash with white pepper. Before butternut squash became the fashionable vegetable, Swede was the workhorse of the Sunday table. Your Nan would peel a whole Swede, hack it into rough chunks, and boil it until it collapsed under a fork. Then she would drain it, add a knob of butter, a splash of milk, and a generous crack of white pepper. Never black. The mash came out pale orange, sweet and earthy, with that distinctive peppery warmth that sat perfectly alongside beef or lamb. In the 1950s, a Swede cost about threepence at the greengrocer, cheaper than potatoes by weight. Children either loved it or pushed it to the side of the plate, but it appeared every week without fail. Today, most people under 40 have never mashed a Swede in their lives. They buy pre-cut butternut squash in plastic trays and call it progress. Number 24, bread sauce. No roast chicken was complete without bread sauce. That thick, clove-studded white paste that baffled visitors from every other country on earth. Your Nan would stud a whole onion with 4 or 5 cloves, simmer it in milk with a bay leaf for 20 minutes, then fish out the onion and stir in fresh white breadcrumbs until the mixture turned into something between a sauce and a pudding. A pinch of nutmeg, a knob of butter, salt. The taste was gentle, warm, and deeply savory, the cloves giving it a fragrance that cut through the richness of roast chicken. In the 1960s, bread sauce appeared on nearly every Christmas and Sunday table in southern England. A pint of milk cost 4p and stale bread was free. Yet by the 1990s, bread sauce had retreated to a few loyal households and the odd Waitrose jar gathering dust on the shelf. Those who remember it know that roast chicken without bread sauce is only half a dinner. Number 23. Pickled red cabbage. That jar of deep purple cabbage sitting on your Nan's sideboard was not decoration. It was a Sunday essential. She would shred a whole red cabbage, layer it with salt in a colander overnight, then pack it into Kilner jars with spiced malt vinegar, peppercorns, and a bay leaf. After a week, the cabbage turned sweet, sharp, and crunchy. The perfect counterpoint to fatty roast pork or cold cuts on Monday. In industrial towns across the north, pickled red cabbage appeared at every roast dinner from October through March. Butchers kept jars on the counter next to the mustard. A whole cabbage cost 6p, and a single jar lasted a fortnight. The ritual of pickling was passed between neighbors, each family claiming their vinegar blend was superior. Yet when supermarkets introduced ready-made pickled cabbage in flimsy plastic tubs, the homemade version vanished almost overnight. The supermarket version was softer, sweeter, and nothing like the crunchy, vinegar-sharp original that stained your Nan's wooden chopping board permanently purple. Number 22. Cauliflower cheese as a side, not a main. Modern recipes treat cauliflower cheese as a vegetarian main course, drowning it in 4 types of cheese and baking it until it could anchor a boat. Your Nan made it as a side. She would boil the cauliflower in florets until just tender, make a simple white sauce with butter, flour, and milk, Stir in a handful of grated cheddar, pour it over the cauliflower in a shallow dish, and grill it until the top blistered golden. The sauce was thin enough to pour. The cauliflower kept its shape. The cheese crust was thin and crisp. It sat alongside the roast as one side among many, not competing for attention. A whole cauliflower cost about sixpence in 1955. This was economy dressed as generosity. That restraint, that understanding of balance has been lost entirely. Number 21. Roast parsnips in dripping. Roast parsnips cooked in beef dripping. Before parsnips were honey glazed, maple roasted, or dusted with curry powder, your Nan simply peeled them, quartered them lengthways, and roasted them in beef dripping alongside the potatoes. They came out of the oven caramelized and sticky, sweet at the edges and fluffy in the middle, with that deep, beefy flavor that only dripping could provide. In the 1950s, parsnips were considered a poor vegetable, cheaper than carrots, and available through the coldest months when little else grew. The National Food Survey recorded them as a winter staple, consumed alongside every Sunday roast from November to February. Children fought over the crispy ends. Fathers took the largest pieces. And your Nan always roasted twice as many as she thought she needed, because they disappeared before the gravy was poured. When vegetable oil replaced dripping in the 1980s, roast parsnips lost their depth. They became sweet but hollow, caramelized but flat. Something essential vanished with the dripping jar, and no amount of honey or maple syrup has ever brought it back. Number 20. Mint sauce from scratch. Not mint jelly from a jar, not that luminous green paste that wobbles on the shelf at Tesco. Proper mint sauce made fresh that morning. Your Nan would strip mint leaves from the garden, chop them fine on a wooden board until the kitchen smelled sharp and green, then mix them with boiling water, a spoonful of sugar, and a good splash of malt vinegar. The result was thin, sharp, and alive with flavor. Nothing like the syrupy commercial versions that appeared in the 1970s. A bunch of mint cost nothing if you grew it, and everyone grew it because mint takes over any garden like a quiet invasion. Lamb without fresh mint sauce was unthinkable. The vinegar cut the fat. The sugar softened the sharpness. The fresh mint lifted everything. By 1990, surveys showed that over 70% of households used jarred mint sauce or jelly instead of fresh. The garden mint went unpicked. The chopping board stayed dry. And Sunday lamb lost its oldest companion. Number 19. Sage and onion stuffing from scratch. Before Paxo arrived in 1952 and conquered every kitchen cupboard in Britain, your Nan made sage and onion stuffing by hand. She would finely chop 2 large onions, soften them in butter, then mix them with fresh breadcrumbs, chopped sage from the garden, salt, pepper, and an egg to bind. The stuffing went inside the bird or was baked separately in a greased tin, forming a golden crust on top while staying soft and savory inside. The smell of sage and fried onions filled the house hours before the roast was ready. Homemade stuffing had texture, depth, and that unmistakable flavor of real sage that dried packet mixes could never replicate. By 1965, Paxo had become so dominant that an entire generation grew up believing stuffing came from a box. The garden sage went to seed, the onions stayed in the cupboard, and the art of building stuffing from nothing more than bread, herbs, and patience was quietly forgotten. Your Nan would have been appalled. Number 18. Braised celery. This is the dish that confuses anyone under 50. Celery, braised, cooked until soft, served hot alongside a roast. Yes. Your Nan would take a whole head of celery, trim the stalks to 6-inch lengths, blanch them in boiling water, then braise them slowly in stock with a knob of butter until they turned silky, translucent, and deeply savory. Raw celery is crisp and watery. Braised celery is tender, rich, and almost meaty, soaking up the stock like a sponge. In the 1950s and 1960s, braised celery appeared in every major cookery book as a standard roast accompaniment. A head of celery cost about 4p. Yet by the 1980s, celery had been demoted to a raw snack, a diet food, something you filled with cream cheese at parties. The idea of cooking it slowly in stock became almost absurd. But anyone who has tasted properly braised celery knows that raw celery is just the appetizer. Number 17. Roast chestnuts as a vegetable side. Before chestnuts became a Christmas novelty sold by street vendors, they were a serious vegetable side at the Sunday table. Your nan would score each chestnut with a cross, roast them until the shells split and curled, peel them while they were still burning hot, wrapping her hands in a tea towel, and serve them alongside the turkey or goose. Sometimes she would braise the peeled chestnuts in butter and stock until they turned glossy and sweet. In the 1950s, chestnuts were abundant and cheap, gathered from trees in parks and lanes across Britain. The labor of peeling was considerable, and as convenience took hold, vacuum-packed pre-peeled versions appeared, then disappeared when nobody bothered to cook them at all. Today, chestnuts survive mostly inside stuffing or as a street food memory. The idea of serving a bowl of them alongside the roast has vanished entirely. Number 16. Marrow with cheese sauce. When the allotment produced a marrow the size of a small child, your nan did not compost it. She peeled it, scooped out the seeds, sliced it into thick rounds, and baked it under a blanket of cheese sauce until bubbling and golden. The marrow turned soft and sweet, absorbing the sauce like bread soaks up gravy. In the 1950s and 1960s, marrow was the most common allotment vegetable in Britain, so prolific that gardeners left them on neighbors' doorsteps like anonymous gifts nobody asked for. The Women's Institute judged marrows by weight. Yet by the 1990s, marrow had been almost entirely replaced by courgettes, its younger, more fashionable cousin. The cheese-sauced marrow that once anchored the summer roast table has all but disappeared. Number 15. Yorkshire puddings cooked in the dripping tin. Modern Yorkshire puddings are baked in individual muffin tins, puffed up into neat little cups designed for Instagram. Your nan made one massive Yorkshire pudding in the roasting tin, directly in the beef. Dripping left from the joint. She would pull the roast out, pour the batter straight into the smoking hot fat, and shove the tin back into the oven. 20 minutes later, out came a single enormous pudding, crispy at the edges, soft and custardy in the middle, soaked in beefy dripping on the bottom. It was cut into rough squares at the table and fought over by everyone. In some northern homes, the Yorkshire was served first with gravy as a starter, designed to fill stomachs before the expensive meat arrived. That tradition stretched the roast to feed 8 on a joint meant for 4. The individual Yorkshire pudding killed the drama of the single great pudding, and the theatre of cutting it at the table. Number 14. Piccalilli. That jar of vivid yellow, chunky relish sat on every Sunday table from the 1940s through the 1970s. Your nan made it in autumn, chopping cauliflower, green beans, shallots, and marrow into small pieces, brining them overnight, then cooking them in a sauce of mustard powder, turmeric, vinegar, and corn flour. The result was sharp, mustardy, crunchy, and violently yellow, the perfect accompaniment to cold roast beef or ham. A single batch filled 6 jars and lasted through the winter. The kitchen steamed with vinegar, and turmeric stained everything it touched. Children stayed away. The smell lingered for days. Yet when Branston and Hayward's began selling factory-made piccalilli in the 1970s, the homemade version faded. The commercial stuff was milder, softer, and less interesting. But it was there, on the shelf, ready. And that was enough to end the tradition. Number 13. Boiled carrots with parsley butter. Before carrots were roasted, honey glazed, or served raw in batons, your Nan simply boiled them. Whole carrots were peeled, dropped into salted water, and cooked until tender. Then she would drain them, toss them in a pan with butter and chopped fresh parsley, and serve them in a warmed dish. Simplicity was the point. Good carrots, properly cooked, needed nothing more. The parsley butter added freshness and color, turning an ordinary vegetable into something that looked considered. In the 1950s, carrots cost 2p a pound and appeared at every roast dinner without exception. The parsley came from the garden or a pot on the windowsill. This was cooking that required no skill, no recipe, and almost no money. Yet it has been almost entirely replaced by roasted carrots tossed in oil and honey, a preparation that would have struck your Nan as needlessly fussy. She understood that some things are best left alone. Number 12. Horseradish sauce from a root. Before the jar of Coleman's appeared, your Nan grated her own horseradish. She would dig the root from the garden, scrub it clean, and grate it on a box grater while tears streamed down her face. The fumes from fresh horseradish are brutal, far stronger than any onion. She would mix the grated root with white wine vinegar, a pinch of sugar, salt, and double cream, creating a sauce so fiery it cleared your sinuses before the beef reached your mouth. Fresh horseradish sauce was a world apart from the mild, creamy paste in jars. It bit back. It made your eyes water at the table. Roast beef without proper horseradish was considered incomplete. By the 1980s, fresh horseradish roots had disappeared from most greengrocers. The jarred version, gentler and more predictable, took over completely. But anyone who has tasted the real thing knows the jar is a pale shadow, polite where it should be, ferocious. Number 11. Buttered savoy cabbage. Not boiled to grey submission. Not shredded into coleslaw. Properly buttered savoy cabbage, cooked by your Nan with care and timing, was something else entirely. She would shred the crinkly leaves, wash them twice, then cook them in a covered pan with a knob of butter and 2 tablespoons of water for exactly 4 minutes. The cabbage stayed bright green, slightly crunchy, and glistening with butter. Salt, pepper, done. This required watching the clock. A minute too long and it turned to mush and filled the house with that sulphurous smell that gave cabbage its terrible reputation. Your Nan knew the difference between 4 minutes and 6 minutes. That 2-minute window was the entire distance between a beautiful side dish and the thing people joke about when they mock British cooking. When frozen vegetables arrived and boil in the bag became normal, the art of timing fresh cabbage was lost, and with it went the vegetable's reputation, perhaps permanently. Number 10. Red currant jelly. A spoonful of jewel red currant jelly beside a slice of roast lamb was as traditional as gravy itself. Your Nan made it in summer when the red currant bushes in the garden hung heavy with fruit. She would strip the berries, simmer them with sugar, strain them through muslin overnight, and pot the clear, ruby jelly into small jars sealed with wax paper circles. The flavor was tart, sweet, and intensely fruity, cutting through the richness of lamb like a knife. A single bush produced enough fruit for a dozen jars, lasting from July through to Easter. Red currant jelly appeared at every roast lamb dinner as automatically as the mint sauce. Yet when supermarkets began stocking lamb year-round and mint sauce became the default, red currant jelly retreated to the Christmas shelf. The bushes were grubbed up. The muslin was folded away. Before beetroot was pickled in vinegar and sealed in jars, it was roasted. Your Nan would scrub whole beetroots, wrap them in foil, and bake them alongside the joint for 2 hours until the skin slipped off and the flesh inside was sweet, earthy, and almost smoky. Sliced hot and served with a knob of butter, roast beetroot was a standard side from the Victorian era through the 1960s. The deep crimson juice ran across the plate, staining the mashed potato pink, which children found either thrilling or disgusting. A pound of beetroot cost next to nothing. Yet the pickled version gradually replaced the roasted original, and eventually beetroot was demoted to a salad ingredient, served cold from a jar. The idea of roasting it fresh has only recently returned, repackaged as a modern discovery. Your Nan was doing it 60 years ago without any fuss at all. Peas pudding. Thick, golden, and served in a warm bowl beside the roast. Peas pudding was the North's answer to every side dish the South ever invented. Your Nan soaked dried yellow split peas overnight, boiled them with a ham bone until they collapsed into a smooth, buttery paste, then seasoned with salt, pepper, and a knob of butter. The result was rich, savory, and deeply comforting. Peas pudding appeared at roast dinners across the Northeast as naturally as potatoes. It went cold and firm enough to slice, meaning Monday's leftovers could be fried in dripping for tea. A pound of split peas cost a few pennies and could feed a family twice. Yet peas pudding could not survive the supermarket age. The sealed tubs on shelves bore no resemblance to the fresh, silky version from the pot. As the ham bone vanished from the kitchen, peas pudding retreated to a handful of market stalls in Newcastle and Sunderland. Number 7. Onion sauce. Before onion gravy became fashionable, there was onion sauce. A proper white sauce with soft, sweet onions stirred through, served in a jug alongside roast mutton or boiled lamb. Your Nan would boil 2 large onions until completely tender, chop them fine, then stir them into a simple bechamel made with butter, flour, and milk. The sauce was pale, creamy, and fragrant, the sweetness of the long cooked onions balancing the strong flavor of mutton. In the 1950s, onion sauce was considered as essential to mutton as mint sauce was to lamb. A pound of onions cost about 2 pence. The sauce took 15 minutes to make. Yet when mutton disappeared from butchers' counters in the 1970s, replaced entirely by younger, milder lamb, onion sauce lost its purpose. Without mutton, it had no natural partner. And so it vanished, a casualty not of taste, but of the animal it was made to accompany. Number 6. Force meatballs. Those small, herby, golden brown balls of stuffing that sat around the roast chicken like loyal soldiers were called force meatballs, and your Nan made them every single Sunday. She would mix fresh breadcrumbs with chopped parsley, thyme, grated lemon zest, suet, a beaten egg, salt, and pepper. Shape them into balls the size of walnuts and bake them in the roasting tin alongside the bird for the last 20 minutes. They came out crispy on the outside, soft and fragrant inside, soaking up the pan juices. Force meatballs appeared in every major British cookery book from Mrs. Beeton onwards. They were essential, not optional. Yet when Paxo stuffing mix arrived, and the tradition of stuffing moved inside the bird, the force meatball lost its place on the plate. By the 1980s, it had all but vanished. Today, most people have never heard the word force meat. Those little balls added texture, herbs, and a crunch that nothing else on the plate provided. Number 5. Dripping roast potatoes. Not goose fat potatoes from a Waitrose recipe card. Not olive oil potatoes from a weekend supplement. Dripping potatoes, roasted in the rendered fat from the very joint sitting on the carving board beside them. Your Nan would parboil King Edwards for exactly 7 minutes, drain them, shake them in the colander until the edges roughed up, then drop them into smoking hot beef dripping in the roasting tin. They came out 40 minutes later with a crust that shattered when you pressed a fork through it. The inside was fluffy, almost hollow. The outside was golden, glassy, and tasted of Sunday itself. When we switched to vegetable oil in the 1980s, roast potatoes became a different thing entirely. Crunchier perhaps, but flavorless. The marriage between joint and potato was annulled, and no bottle of oil has ever filed for reconciliation. Number 4. Mushy peas from dried marrow fat peas, not tinned, not microwaved. Proper mushy peas made from dried marrow fat peas soaked overnight with a bicarbonate of soda tablet, then simmered until they collapsed into a thick, rough, khaki green mush. Your Nan would add butter, salt, white pepper, and sometimes a splash of vinegar at the table. The texture was chunky, not smooth. Some peas held their shape, while others dissolved into the mass. A packet of dried marrow fat peas cost a few pence and served the whole family. The tinned version, bright green and suspiciously uniform, appeared in the 1970s and gradually replaced the real thing. But the flavor difference is stark. Tinned mushy peas taste of tin. The dried version tastes of earth, butter, and patience. Number 3. Bread sauce boats and gravy boats in matched sets. This is not a food, but it is the reason every other side dish on this list existed. Your Nan owned matched china serving pieces, a gravy boat, a bread sauce boat, a tureen for vegetables, serving spoons with bone handles. The Sunday roast was not dumped on plates in the kitchen. It was presented at the table in proper dishes, passed around, served with ceremony. That ritual demanded sides. You could not fill a table with ceremony using only meat and potatoes. The bread sauce needed its own boat. The mint sauce needed its own dish. The act of presenting food this way created the expectation of variety, which created the tradition of making 6 or 7 sides every week. When we stopped laying tables properly, when plates arrived already loaded from the kitchen, the need for all those sides vanished with the serving dishes. The china went into the attic. The sides went with it. Number 2. Roast onions in their skins. Whole onions unpeeled, placed around the joint in the roasting tin, and left to cook for 2 hours until the outer skins charred black and the inside turned to a sweet, golden, almost jam-like softness. Your Nan would serve them whole, letting everyone peel their own at the table, squeezing the soft center onto the plate beside the meat. Hours of slow roasting transformed a sharp, raw onion into something sweet, smoky, and buttery. A side dish that cost literally a penny and tasted like something from a restaurant. Roast onions appeared in British cookery books from the 18th century onwards, a standard accompaniment to roast beef for over 200 years. Yet they have almost completely vanished from the modern Sunday table. We slice them, caramelize them, or relegate them to gravy. The idea of serving a whole blackened onion on a plate seems almost primitive now. But primitive is not the right word. The right word is forgotten. Number 1. The vegetable tureen. The centerpiece of every Nan's Sunday table was not the meat. It was the vegetable tureen. That heavy, lidded, often floral china dish was filled with buttered carrots, or braised leeks, or creamed spinach, and placed in the middle of the table, with a serving spoon laid across the top. The tureen meant the vegetables were important. They were not afterthoughts scooped from a saucepan. They were presented, offered, chosen. Your Nan might set out 2 or 3 tureens, each holding a different vegetable, each kept warm by the lid. The vegetable tureen represented an entire philosophy of eating. Food was communal. Sides were central. The table was set with care. When we stopped using tureens, we stopped treating vegetables as worthy of their own vessel. They became an afterthought, a scoop of something green to balance the plate. The tureen and everything it stood for has vanished from British kitchens, and with it went the Sunday roast as your Nan understood it. Not just a meal, but a ceremony. Not just food, but an act of love laid out in matched china on a pressed white cloth. Try one of these this week. Make the mint sauce from scratch. Roast a whole onion in its skin. Braise a stick of celery in stock. Then come back and tell me your Nan wasn't ahead of her time. Drop a comment telling me which of these your family still makes, because somewhere out there, someone's Nan never stopped. And she was right all along.